I started out, I grew up as an offensive football player for the most part.
Okay.
So I grew up playing quarterback, in high school and in college. I played a little bit of quarterback in college, but then I just turned into a wide receiver. And then I had a little cup of coffee in the original USFL, and I hurt my knee. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm done doing this right now. And I got hired by the Dallas Cowboys back in Dallas because I grew up as a ball boy for the Dallas. James Cook, they said, hey, coach, can we talk to you real quick? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And they're like, well, how about till like tomorrow morning? This was like at 4:00 in the afternoon. They said, how about tomorrow morning? And I was like, what'd I do? I screw something up? Why do we got to wait? Do you got to go talk to, the commissioner or something? I don't know what's going on. So the next day I said, yeah, whatever. The next day they brought me aside and said, would you be interested in becoming the head coach of the NFL Academy in the UK? And I was like, I didn't even know there was one, honestly. There's no doubt. We wind this thing all the way back to as simple as we can make it. Because if you don't run and hit somebody, you can't win this game. So you got to be able to run first, and then you got to be willing to hit somebody. And it's not about going to somebody. It's about going through somebody, like Royal said. Okay, you got to go through them. And if you go to somebody, you can't play this sport. But if you go through them, you're going to be a champion on any team you get on.
Good meat, good God, let's eat! So, Ballaz In The Middle, we're back in his house. As you all know, you got your man Hutchie Hutch.
And you got your man Royal Bledman, aka the Hidden Machine. And before we get rolling off, don't forget hit us up on our socials. That's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. And when you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that notification button so you get, when we upload our latest videos. And on that note, we're going to jump right into it without a doubt. We have a great guest today. Got many years of experience throughout especially the NFL and other leagues. That's all I'm going to say at the moment.
It's all good. It's all fun.
Yeah, just going a little bit more granular with regards to that, man. We got Steve Hagen. He is the current NFL Academy head coach. This man has, from my understanding, over 40 years of coaching experience. It started at Illinois back in 84.
I know I don't look that old.
Graduate student in Kansas in 85 to 86, a graduate student there. North Carolina from 87 to 88. He was wide receivers coach, tight ends coach in 89, 90. He was at Notre Dame as wide receivers coach at Kent State in 1991. Quarterbacks coach.
You're making me dizzy, bro.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to be here for the next 5 minutes. In Nevada, and offensive coordinator, QB's coach in 1994 to 95. UNLV, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach in 1996.
UNLV, wow.
Coach in 1997 to 1998. San Jose State, he was offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach in 1999 to 2000. Is at California, offensive coordinator, QB coach in 2001 to 2003. He's at the Cleveland Browns, tight ends coach. And in 2004, he was the QB coach. 2006, he was at Fresno State, OC, QB coach. At 2007, 2008, he was a North Carolina tight ends coach. 2009 to 2012, back to the Cleveland Browns for another 3-year stint there.
So nice, you did it twice.
There you go. In 2013, 2014, went to New York Jets as a tight ends coach. In 2015, again, New York Jets special teams coach. In 2020, he was at the Seattle Dragons, Titans coach, assistant special teams. In 2021, had a stint in Italy with the Pfizer, I think that's what they're called, as a head coach.
Forenza. Yeah.
And in 2023, currently, you're the NFL Academy's head coach. We have Steve Hagen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, guys.
What's up, Steve? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I really appreciate it. And thank you for that introduction. It's when you coach in America, you're an independent contractor. You coach anywhere, really. You're an independent contractor, and you gotta keep rolling and just, keep food on your plate, your family's plate. Yep. And so you work your way all the way through the jobs, and and God blesses you enough, and you do the right things, and you work hard enough, and you're consistently good. You get rewarded by that. And I've had some great opportunities. I've worked alongside really, really good football coaches. So I've been blessed to work with Lou Holtz at Notre Dame, Butch Davis at the Browns, and Mike Holmgren when he became the president of the Browns. Mike Holmgren, he won a couple Super Bowls, and just a blessing to be around those guys that had coached. They coached a long time too, and so I'm kind of their age now. I was young, and so I grew up learning that language and learning the passion. I started out. I grew up as an offensive football player for the most part. So I grew up playing quarterback, in high school, and in college. I played a little bit of quarterback in college, but then I just turned into a wide receiver. And then I had a little cup of coffee in the original USFL, and I hurt my knee. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm done doing this right now. And I got hired by the Dallas Cowboys back in Dallas, because I grew up as a ball boy for the Dallas Cowboys in Thousand Oaks, California. So that kind of just put that passion of football in me. I didn't think I was going to be a football coach when I was 10 years old. I just love football. I love the game of football. Football's unique. It's a completely different sport. I've played a lot of sports. I've run track. I've played soccer, or what we call soccer in America. They call football here. And played basketball. I've wrestled. I've done a lot of different things. And football is unique. And it's unique because it's so dynamic. And it's so taxing. It's taxing physically, but it's taxing mentally. You have got to be prepared to do your job really well, consistently well. And when you do that, then you become a starter on your team. And that's what I tell the kids at the academy. Just, a businessman, handle your business.
So, Steve, man, you coached at Power 5 schools, you coached in the XFL, you coached in the NFL, and
USFL.
You missed out on the experience of coaching in NFL Europe.
I know.
You would have seen us if you were there.
When I was when I was in the NFL at the Browns, the original first time, we'd send 6 or 8 of our players over to NFL Europe.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was really good. I think, unfortunately, they're not doing that. They may think about and reconsider doing it again. But what it did, it helped those guys grow. It helped them develop. There's a version of it now called IPP, International Player Pathway, which I also coach now. And I've been doing that for about 4 years. And so we do that. We do that at IMG in Florida in January. And it goes January, February, March. And we take international football players and bring them over and really try to teach them as much football as we can. But it's not like NFL Europe where you're actually playing the game and you're going 11 on 11. This is a little bit, it's a different version of it, but it's good. Right. It's a pathway.
That's a good question, Nate. Is that the kind of stuff we're seeing on what I've been watching on YouTube lately? Is that the same bunch of guys that you're talking about?
Yep. I think if we're talking about the same thing, you can get on YouTube and get on International Player Pathways. So I was out there coaching those guys, Louis Rees-Zammit and Travis Clayton, those dudes. And
he transitioned away from rugby union to American football.
Yeah. So super fun. It's very challenging to coach those guys, and they think they know what they're getting into, but they really don't know what they're getting into.
100%. 100%. I've got some questions around that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
ask you.
It's a huge
how you,
transition, huge
of course,
transition for them.
of
So,
course.
but it's
I mean,
all good. So,
I mean, going from amateur American football in England to playing in NFL Europe, bruh, that was like driving. That was like driving a truck to going into a Formula One car, man. It was just so much quicker. Everyone was faster, bigger. Everything just moved much quicker. Reading. I was a running back, and reading those holds, man.
yeah,
They open and close in nanoseconds. It was completely different. But don't
yeah.
bring me down that route, because I'd have you here all day. Let me bring it back in. And where I was going to go with it was, so you, how did you hear about the vacancy at Loughborough? I mean, were you approached? Did you have to apply? How did
No,
that?
actually, I was approached, and that's a really good question because I was coaching at IPP down in IMG in Florida, and
Mm,
I was coaching the International Player Pathways, and the guys that lead that, really good dudes, Will Bryce, James Cook, they said, "Hey, coach, can we talk to you real quick?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And they're like, "Well, how about to like tomorrow morning?" This was like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They said, "How about tomorrow morning?" And I was like, "What I do? I screw something up? Why do we got to wait? Do you got to go talk to, the commissioner or something? I don't know what's going on." So the next day, I said, "Yeah, whatever." The next day, they brought me aside and said, "Would you be interested in becoming the head coach of the NFL Academy in the UK?" And I was like, I didn't even know there was one, honestly. I was so, because you get kind of myopic when you're just coaching, you're coaching your guys and your players in your league, and I wasn't looking to go in another league or go anywhere else. And so I was like, yeah, that'd be interesting. What's it about? And then it just one thing led to the next, and
right.
and then it just happened, and it's such a blessing. Again, I'm going to say that over and over tonight, because it's a blessing to coach all these kids from all over the world. Essentially, we don't get any American kids on our team. We only take international kids. So we have kids from
Yeah.
Australia, Japan, uh, Africa, all over Europe, France, Norway, Sweden, Finland,
He's
Germany,
got it down. He's
France.
got it down to a pact.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it's like the Tower of Babel playing football. It's like, what's going on here? Sometimes I'll have two guys getting a fight, and one guy's from Germany and one guy's from France, and they'll be yelling at each other and stuff. I'm like, hey, break it up, man. Y'all don't even understand each other. So just,
I get it.
split it apart. Let's go play ball.
Get it.
So, but it's good. The common language, obviously the common language is football.
Mhm.
And then the second common language is English, and then everybody speaks their own native language. So don't ask me to speak French or Italian or anything like that, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun
Right.
to do it. So
So when you understood the scope of the role, teaching students the game that they haven't really been around, they haven't really been around the US process, the infrastructure of the game, understanding the game, the commitment involved, have you had to tailor like your development approach to get these students ready for the next stage, like of their careers?
there's no doubt. We wind this thing all the way back to as simple as we can make it. Because if you don't run and hit somebody, you can't win this game. So you got to be able to run first, and then you got to be willing to hit somebody. And it's not about going to somebody; it's about going through somebody, like
There we
Ross
go.
said. Okay, you got to go through them. And if you go to somebody, you can't play this sport. But if you go through them, you're going to be a champion on any
Without a
team you
doubt.
get on. And so that's not easy to do if you're confused. And so I tell my staff that all the time. Let's get this thing and reduce this down to as simple and as basic as we can, and then build it from there. So we do that every year. We do that about 3 times a year, because that's how we grow first. We teach it, test it, teach it, test it, teach it, test it. So we'll teach it, and then we test it against each other. We'll teach it, and we test it against another team. And then we teach it again, and we just keep building it up like that. And it builds their confidence. So then they do run through people. And, we got to teach. Some of these things may be offensive to some people, but honestly, we got to teach them how to run like football players.
Yeah.
And we got to teach them how to hit like football players. And America puts the best version of this sport together, right?
Mhm.
So, like, I would say, arguably, maybe the UK puts the best version of soccer together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
And America puts the best version of American football together. And that's what I wanted to bring here, the best version of American football for these kids. So teach them how to run like football players, teach them how to see like football players, teach them how to listen and hear like football players, teach them how to process like football players, teach them how to hit like football players and get up and recover like football players. You got to get calloused up. You know, some guys get hit and get hurt. Some guys get hit and get pissed off. Some guys get hit and get more calloused up and they get hard, and then they get better and better and better, because then their processing skills, they don't wane when they get hit. They get just hardened up, and they process the game quicker, and they process it faster, and they become more violent football players. Even you would think a quarterback's not violent, but there's some quarterbacks you're not going to want to play against because they are violent football players. They're not necessarily going to out-hit you, but they're going to attack with their eyes, ears, and their brain wide open processing. And it's a violent sport for that too. So it's all fun. It's all good, but reduce it down to its simplicity so we can build it up to be violent, smart, fast, physical, fundamental football players that do whatever it takes to win and leave no doubt. I say that to our team all the time. They got it memorized and we live it.
So Steve, you dealing with what's the age group? Sorry,
16 to 19.
Right.
They cannot be 19 when they enroll. They can turn 19 after. They got to be 18 when they enroll, 16 to 18. But if they turn 19 like 6 months into the process, we don't kick them out. They just finish. And then the object is to get everybody to America on a scholarship. It doesn't always happen, but that's what
I know people always getting on me about going back in the day. So how would you, I know you're dealing with international players. How would you compare the American 16 to 19 and the European 16 to 19 playing the same game? I mean, like attitude-wise.
I get your question. I'll let you answer and get this answer in your mind, and all your listeners to answer this in your mind. American football players start playing when they're about 5 to 6 years old with shoulder pads and helmets, 11 on 11. All right. In the UK, you start playing 11 on 11 when you're about 17, and there's about 10 years in there where there's a lot that's been able to be developed in America where it's not. 5-on-5 football is not the same as 11 on 11. 8-man football is not the same because you don't have those same blocking schemes. You don't have that many people on the field. You don't have those coverage schemes. You don't have those route combinations. So that's a whole different game. Flag football. Those are all starter kits to 11 on 11. And 11 on 11 is the ultimate game where that's what gets it so dynamic because of all the schemes and all the processing that has to go on within those schemes, audibles, checks, offensively and defensively and special teams. All that stuff is so dynamic. So the European teams that don't play 11 on 11 are way behind. And so I'm not going to pin the tail on any donkeys. So, because I don't know where all that happens in Europe. I've only lived here since July, but you can make your own assessment on that and how they grow as a football player. Because, there's a lot more hitting going on when there's 11 on 11 than 5-on-5.
Correct.
It's just a different.
From all different angles, from all over the place.
Different angles from all over the place, man. Like you ran down the field and put flat spots on people's heads. And you know what? That's what happens in football if you're doing it right. And I know we got all the, all that stuff going on. But if you're doing it right, you become a vicious lion when you're out there on that field. When you cross over that white line, the lion in you has got to come out.
Have you? I know I just asked that question, but have you got any players that have got that aggressive side to them already, but still working and learning the game? or is that something
Yeah,
they
we
still
have
need to
both.
work on?
We have both. We have guys that aren't aggressive, that are pretty smart, but
Mhm.
you got to train them up to hit people. And then we have players that'll hit the snot out of you, but don't know which direction to run. And
Right.
they might be tackling the guy without the ball. And it's like,
Mhm.
dude, that guy over there, he's got the ball. You just tackled the quarterback, but that guy's got the ball. So it's play with your eyes and ears wide open. And that's why I want to reduce it down to the simplest form of football, so these guys can grow and get their eyes and ears wide open and see the game at a high speed. And we practice at a high speed, and we play at a high speed. I talk the game. I know we all speak a different language, and sometimes I'll have to say, hey man, tell your boy in Italian that he needs to, do this. But
Yeah.
I want to, because when they go to America, they're going to have to, it's got to all process. It's
Yeah.
all got to process in American.
Yeah.
It can't be, or English rather. It can't be
Translated.
They're not going to hire an Italian quarterback coach because they recruited an Italian quarterback. That's not going to happen.
Mhm.
The Italian quarterback's going to learn English enough to lead the team. And so, yeah, to answer your question, we got all flavors.
Okay.
So it's fun though. It's a great challenge.
So the NFL Academy, from my understanding, from my research, currently supports about 60 student athletes from 9 different countries: Finland, France, Germany, Italy. Did I say Ireland? The Netherlands, Nigeria, Sweden, and the UK. And since its inception,
Australia, Japan, we got about 14 countries.
Right. Okay. And since its inception, more than 40, from my understanding, more than 40 students have secured college football scholarships from the US. So from 2019 to date, from my math, that works out like 8 students year on year hooks on to a school. May that be Power 5, D2, etc. How do you plan to improve this number for 2024/2025?
Well, it all starts with recruiting, right? You got to get the right DNA. So it's just like, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They were pretty good, and then they get Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty good DNA right there, right? So you go get the right DNA, and then you put it in the right system, and you coach it with the right process, and then it starts to produce players. So what we take this, just like the teaching part of it, we get this down into recruiting, and we got to make sure that we're recruiting the right DNA and the right kids at the position. So if you know football well enough, we don't want a defensive end like, this big. We're trying to go find big, tall, long defensive or athletes that we can turn into a defensive end or a tight end. So it starts with the DNA, and then we got to put them in our system. And our system is, like I just explained, it's super simple. So we can find out who they are as an athlete. Because sometimes you confuse these kids so much, it takes their athleticism away. It slows them down. They got to think, they got to process. And that's not why we recruited them. We recruited them because we saw the athlete in them. That's why we recruited them. And then if you confuse them, you just stole their athleticism. That's not what we want to do. So then what we try to do is keep that simple to the point where it's got to be dynamic enough to where we can play and do this well, but it's also got to be simple, effective schemes that our guys can grow in and grow confidence. And when they start to grow confidently, and then we mix that with our weight room, because we're in the weight room 3 times a week, every week, and we start to grow them in the weight room so they grow confident. The chest starts to fill out a little bit. Their arms start to get a little thicker. They walk by the mirror and go, oh man, I'm starting to look like what coach is talking about now. And then I build them up and say, hey man, you're starting to look like I'm talking like what I talk about now. And so we start to grow them up, and they become confident. And that lion, like we talk about, that lion in them starts to come out. That little baby cub starts to roar, and we cut them loose. And we say, hey, when it's time to play the game, we live it, and you go live it. And we find out who wants to hit and who wants to sit, and that's it. Keep it simple.
Okay. So
Go on, Hart. Sorry.
I,
Go ahead.
I got questions for this guy all day, man. Trust me.
Yeah.
Excited, man. I'm telling you, this having someone speaking our language at this level is brilliant. So okay. So something that I got to ask you, man, from our first conversation. So you know as well as I do in the pros, tour days were ended, man, back in 2013/2014 due to the vigorous wear and tear on players during preseason, right? A great move, if you ask me. You mentioned to me, though, that you put your players through like tour days. So can you give us a breakdown of what a typical day would look like for our fans? A typical day of what tour days look like? Because we
wake
and
up.
Rob talk about it, but it'd be nice to hear it from
Now we don't hit and pound on each other 2 times a day.
Oh, okay.
So just to break that down, I mean, I can get into the intricacies of the schedule, but one of the practices will be shoulder pads and helmets. The other one will just be helmets, so we don't knock each other's teeth out. But regardless of what we're doing, we're going to play fast. We're going to constantly play fast, and we're always going to have 11 on 11, whether we got pads on or not. Now, what we do and the design of it is, when we have pads on, there's parts or portions of the practice where I'll say, this is live for the next 10 plays. This is live on the backs. Not live on a quarterback, not live on a receiver, just live on the backs. Okay. Live in the core, live in the front, but not in our perimeter, because I don't want guys waylaying each other out, and I don't want the quarterback ever to get hit. Okay. Now, there are times where I say the quarterback is live if he's a runner, not a thrower. Okay. So the way we practice is very very organized, very thought out. It's a high process practice, and we count our reps. So we're not out there all the time for, we're probably on the field no longer than 90 minutes ever. But in that 90 minutes,
is that both practices?
Well, one practice would be 90 minutes. So
what would the other one be?
About the same.
Okay.
But it's different. So it'd be like, if we're going to hit, we would do less individual, more team. If we're not going to hit, we're going to do more individual and more 7-on-7. That's a different level of teaching, right? That's a whole different level of teaching. You can break that down into more fundamentals, more just a different level of teaching and what we're looking at and what we're looking for. And then, but if we put the pads on, we're looking for a whole different level of football. There's a lot of different things that you look for as a coach in football. You don't just throw the ball out there every day and hope something good happens. You've got to be very intentional as a teacher, as a leader, as a mentor, as a coach, to what are you looking for and what do you expect out of today and this practice. So I tell them before practice, this is what I want it to look like. And then I tell them after practice whether I thought it looked like that or not. Okay. Or I'll just stop them in the middle or before it gets too carried away, and I'll say, it doesn't look like what we thought it was supposed to look like. We're going to crank this thing back and start it again, and we're going to do it right. Or it flows. And so you got to be intentional, really intentional about what you want. What do you want and what are you willing to sacrifice or invest in to get what you want? And I tell my guys that all the time. If you're an independent businessman, like I ask you to be, independent contractor, and you're a defensive back, what's your game look like today? How many times have you, if we're in one-on-one, how many times did you produce at a consistently high level at your job? How many times did he catch it compared to how many times he didn't catch it? How many times did you touch it compared to how many times he touched it? All those kind of things. And you start charting yourself, because if you don't check yourself, you won't grow. You can't grow. You can't grow you guys checked your stats on your podcast, I'm sure. You want to figure out what's going on. So if you don't check it, if you don't grow, you're going to go.
Mm-hmm. Get it? It's all about It's all about the stats, right, and the metrics. It's all about the stats per player. I get it.
Yep.
Get it
with everything.
So
with everything,
to answer your original question is, we'd wake up, have breakfast. It just depends on if we're going to lift weights that day. If we're going to lift weights, then we do a non-hitting in the morning, then have lunch, watch tape of practice, go to practice and hit in the afternoon, watch that tape, go have dinner, and then watch that tape and go to bed. Okay.
Yeah.
The next day would be one. We just do one. Because we
Right.
take all that tape from those two practices, cut it up, watch it before, have a longer
Film
learning
session.
session. Yeah. Learning classroom session. And then we go out and we do whatever we need to do on that day. And the next day, we do it again too. So we do our one a day would be watch the film of the two a day, and then practice, have an install, watch that. And then at the end of it, we watch practice and then do an install for the next two a day. So usually we go 2 a day, 1 a day, 2 a day, 1 a day, 2 a day, 1 a day, 2 a day, 1 a day through a training camp. And we go. We don't have much time to get them good. And so if you think of it like I think of it, in America, we're practicing 5 times a week. If we only practice 3 times a week, we have no chance at catching them. Because in 2 weeks, they'll have practiced 10 and we'll have only practiced 6. In 3 weeks, they practice 15 and we practiced 9. We'll never catch them. They'll end up tripling us, quadrupling us in amount in a very, very short time in the metric of practice minutes, practice time, practice plays, processing, all that stuff. So it gets very scientific if you do it right.
Steve, what do you find? I mean, going through this process, what do you find being the most challenging? Is it teaching them knowledge of the game and your students retaining that information and then producing it on the field versus the physicality side of it?
Well, it's all very challenging, honestly, because, once you get hit in the mouth, you think differently.
Yeah.
Right. So you know that not everybody likes to get hit in the mouth. Not everybody likes to run and face and this is a sport like this. If you hit somebody in basketball, it's a foul. Okay. If you don't hit somebody hard enough and well enough in this sport, you don't get to play. That's just the facts. So the challenge is to grow that. And how do you grow that? Well, that's the art of coaching, right? And gaining confidence and doing those kind of drills that we put together. And then once they do get hit, do you forget everything? Do you get pissed off? Do you want to get in a fight because the guy hit you? And, or do you have enough composure to come back and be fundamentally sound and go whip him with your technique and make a play and be productive? So, there's controlled chaos on a football field where everybody's going to hit somebody sometime or another. And all 11 have to move at the same time within concert with each other. Like I can watch a soccer game, and no offense to anybody that's watching soccer, but I can see like at least 6 guys standing or slowly jogging as a ball's moving on this side of the field. Right. Okay. And I'm not, that's just part of the game. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. In football, you hike the ball, and if this half is jogging or walking or standing, you have no chance. None. Yeah. Zero chance.
No,
and so, so that's where the coaching is a super huge challenge.
Such an important statement that you just mentioned about, about walking on the field, jogging on the field, running on the field, want to snap the ball, going at 100%, not 75%, not 50%, 100%. That is such an important point.
Yeah, really think about this. If they're going to play cover 2 and you're one of the safeties, right? And you only do, and they run 4 vertical and you only, you go 50% or whatever, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. If the quarterback knows what he's doing, it's a touchdown right now.
Yeah. That tight is going to go vertical and I'm just chilling, just taking my time. He's going to run by me.
Or the way
if 2 of your defensive line loaf, same play, 2 of your defensive line loaf rushing the quarterback. Quarterback stands back there like this for 8 seconds. Somebody's going to get open.
Yeah.
So you got to play. When the ball is hiked, everybody has got to play fast and physical. And then take a break when the ref blows a whistle or the ball's out of bounds or whatever. Then take a break, get some air, and be ready to go the next play. And you got to be able to do that about 75 times a game.
Same thing with the running game, man. I'm a running back. I'm going to be selfish, man. It's like if your offensive line ain't on a running play, they're not exploding off the field and getting where they need to get to. May it be a deuce block, may it be whatever, running a zone package or whatever. The timing's off. It's going to mess up the running back, right? So it's all about the timing. It's all about
exactly
100% speed.
So what you see on tape is what you coach, and I tell my coaches that all the time. So if their guy's loafing, it's because they either coached it or they let it happen. One or the other. So
being accountable, right, Coach?
It is what it is. Everybody's got to be accountable, all the way down to me. And if I let my O lineman loaf, I'm letting my O line coach it that way. So I worked for Coach Holtz, probably Lou Holtz, one of the best coaches. Arguably one of the best coaches.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, there's a Notre Dame back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And we won national championship and played for another one, and that was Catholics versus convicts, and that was that whole era, right? And that was big time football. There was no bigger time football than that.
Yes, it was.
That was Ricky Waters,
Ricky, Tony Rice. Yeah.
Tony Brooks. Yeah, Tony Brooks.
Reggie and Tony Brooks.
Reggie Brooks. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a lot of DNA on that team.
Listen, back then in the 80s, that Notre Dame was hype.
Late 80s.
It was 89 national championship night. Yeah, we were rocking. It was good. It was really fun. But they still had to be coached. You can get all that talent. You can get all that talent in one spot. There's a lot of teams right now that have a lot of talent in one spot that aren't producing at the level that needs to be produced at. So it's just the way it is.
Hey, Ro, just talking to Steve, man. He's making me feel like he want to prize me out of retirement, man.
It's not like I'm ready to finish.
Man, look at that 3-year-old man trying to play running back again, man.
Yeah,
no, those days are behind us.
We're here trying to make the game better. That's what we're trying to do.
Raise the game, man. Raise the awareness of American football in this country. This is what this platform is all about, man.
We'll have to put a clinic together sometime, maybe, and I'll come down and share with some coaches, just one-on-one, just sit down with some coaches and say, what do you want your team to look like? Then demand this. And have you been across coaches? Honestly, a lot of coaches don't have. What I learned from Coach Holtz is you have got to be consistently great, like Nick Saban. Yeah. You've got to be consistently great as a leader to do it. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not consistently great as a leader all the time, but I learned that from those kind of coaches, Nick. I never got to coach with Nick. I wish I could have, but never got to. But I've had friends that have coached on his staff, and I've been to practices at Alabama. Where I've got to watch it. Does a great job. Kirby Smart. I've been to practices with Kirby. I've never got to work with Kirby, but I've been to, and Kirby grew up under Nick. And so when you get in those situations, it's so fun. It's so dynamic, just how they demand accountability. It's just so good.
Okay. So just bringing it back to, the NFL Academy. So once these players are recruited and are currently on a football program in the US, there will be an aspect of these students, they'll be wrestling with the mental pressures of being a European player, right?
Yep.
On a roster. Them not having the luxury of going through the US process of playing football at PE level, at high school level, etc. Being sometimes made an example of making mistakes on practice, and in the classroom. Trust me, I've been there. That's what I've been through that, and it's made me feel like a second-class player.
Yeah, it makes you feel inferior. Yeah.
Is there a class or support or a mentor on the program at Loughborough that prepares students for the culture changes that they're going to face when they go to like a Power 5 school?
Well, the good thing is I'm an American, so I get it. And we have about 3 other American coaches that played American football in America on our staff. So that helps. We also have a full-time sports psychologist on our team that helps. So there's a lot of support as far as helping kids gain their confidence, keep their confidence, and build their confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I'm honest too. I believe clarity is kind, and I tell our guys clarity is kind. And if you can't handle a clear thought coming out of my mouth, then this isn't the sport for you. So if I'll tell them, hey, you're not good enough to play in America right now, but you have it in you. I see it in you, but you gotta let it happen. And how does it happen? You gotta start lifting weights, and you gotta start doing the things that I'm asking you to do to get go through the whole process. Don't evaluate, just go through the whole process. I'll be the evaluator, you be the doer. All right. You do it, and you do it well, and you do it consistently well. Each time you get an opportunity, then I'll be the evaluator. You listen, because knowing eyes and knowing ears hear more and see more. And I've been there for 42 years. I've been doing this. So I know what a football player should look like, from the highest level all the way up into the pros, all the way into the little Pee-wee Pop Warner dudes, because I've raised my boys in football. You know, I have 3 boys that all played football. And so I've been around football my whole life. And it's really no different than when I was coaching in the XFL or the USFL. Those guys did not make it in the NFL. They made it maybe for a training camp, or maybe they made it for half a season, or maybe they were in it for a whole season. But their whole desire is to get back into the NFL, because that's where you make the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I'd tell guys, I would just tell them, Raw, I'd say, dude, if you don't play special teams, I know you don't want to hear this because you think you're like some superstar wide receiver or something like that. If you don't play special teams, you're not going to make it, because you're not CeeDee Lamb right now. And so if you were CeeDee Lamb, you'd be up there making bank, but you're not. So what's your role? Your role is to learn how to do this better and become
what is his name? That's all he did. He played special. Was he with Tampa?
I don't know who you're talking about.
What decade are we talking? You talking about Steve Tasker?
No, there's one guy that's all he ever did was play special teams. He didn't care about playing anything else. All he played was special teams.
Bill Bates in Dallas?
Bill Bates, yeah.
No, it come back to me. It come to me. Jesus.
Okay.
But sorry. But yeah.
But that's it. So, especially on a 53-man roster and 46 eligible on a game day, you know, if you're not going to be, like you said, a multiple positional player, you have no chance.
Yeah.
None.
I hear that.
Unless you're just, I mean, the guards have to play center, and the tackle's got to swing. So, unless you're like superstar Tom Brady, you don't have to play free safety. Everybody else got to do something else.
They're like 1%, aren't they, Steve? There's not, you can't, you know, they're 1%ers. You know,
less than 1%. Probably.
Yeah, less than 1%.
And that's what we do here at the academy. I get guys playing as many positions as early as I can. You know, I get them started with their main position. Say a kid comes in and he's like, I'm an offensive lineman. I say, okay, you're an offensive lineman for about a week. And then you're also a 3 technique. Because you know what? When you go to college, I don't know what they're going to make you. You might be a right guard.
Yeah.
You might be a whatever. My defensive ends are going to be tight ends until they prove that they can't be.
And that's what they got to accept, because when I went to junior college in Chicago, Harper Junior College, and I wanted to play running back. And the head coach blatantly said to me, you got 2 choices. You either sit behind him on the bench, or you're going to learn how to play defense. I jumped across to the other side, and I haven't looked back since. You know,
exactly.
Love the position, but you know that's what they got to accept as well. Can they accept the fact that you get over there, and they might want you to change completely to a different position?
That's right. That's why. Yep, that's exactly right, and that's why here at the academy we try to expose them as much as we can to both sides of the ball and all special teams, because you know. They may get over there, just like you said, and they go, you know what, you're going to be a right tackle for us. Okay. You know?
That's exactly what you need to say. If
Yeah.
you want to play the game, you're gonna have to say, okay, whatever
Yeah.
you want me to do, coach, I'm
That's
there.
right. That's right.
Right.
So, and that's what's so cool about, this sport. There's a lot of guys like Mahomes. He probably get paid a fortune to play baseball too. All those cats, but they get, this is, this sport's different. So it just demands more of you, in my opinion. I know I'm way over the top biased because this is what I do.
No,
But
we feel the same way.
yeah,
We feel the same way as you do, without a doubt.
yeah. So
It creates a different character. It's something you have to want to do,
yeah,
and
it
you
all
can do
it not only creates, it reveals a character, and it can create a character if you're
Mhm.
willing to. It first and foremost, like I tell my kids, this will reveal your character. Because we're going to ask you to get up in the morning and lift weights, and you got to walk all the way across the parking lot when it's hailing in your face, and it's going to reveal your character. You're not going to want to get out of bed. You're going to say, I'm sick today, and you don't get to be sick today.
Right.
You get to be a football player today and tomorrow, and you can be sick on Saturday and Sunday when the off season comes around.
Yep.
But during the week,
You still got to put the work in.
that's
Even
your
off season,
job.
still got to put the work in.
That's right. That's right.
So just going back to NFL Academy and the development of the students from the physical perspective, are the players looked after regarding their nutrition? Do they get the right foods, like proteins, liquids, etc., whilst they're bulking up?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we have a full-time strength staff and a nutritionist that's on that strength staff. And so we measure everybody's body fat, body composition, all that, because we're trying to create lean body mass so we can move with velocity a lot quicker.
Mhm.
And so not everybody comes in that way. We know where they're coming from, and we know what they look like. And so we measure this constantly. It's a sports science, like I said, and we constantly are measuring that. So we have a full-time staff, strength and sports conditioning staff, that does all our weight room plyometric speed training. And then we have a sports nutritionist who's with us, who we give protein shakes out after practice, all that stuff. So the cool
Okay.
thing about the academy is when someone invests in the academy, they're getting their money's worth, honestly. And because of the NFL, we don't have a giant budget where we don't have 62 guys on full ride scholarships. We'd have the equivalent to about, I think it's about 18 full ride scholarships. And so we break that up, and we have to give this guy 5,000 pounds and this guy 3,000 pounds and this guy, because they're all developmental kids coming from all over the place.
Mhm.
But we always say where you come in is not where you'll finish. You come in and produce, you can earn more scholarship money. You come in and this is not your deal. It's not for everybody. You know that. You guys played. You've been on teams where guys are just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mhm.
And they bail out. And we're not mad at anybody. People come in, players come in, and they're like, no, can't do it. Can't, just for whatever reason it is, they just don't make it. But it gives opportunities for other kids to come in and play. So yes, to answer your question, full-time strength and conditioning staff, full nutrition staff, full sports psychology staff, full academic advisors, because we want everybody to be academically eligible
Right.
with the NCAA qualifications to go to America. We want every single one of our players, we demand it out of every single one of our players, that they will become academically eligible for an American football scholarship. Now, whether they get one or not, at least they'll be academically eligible. There's a lot of factors that go into that. You know that as well.
Right.
Do they do the same sort of here at the academy? Because in America it's a 2.0 in order to play, or is it still 2.0 to be eligible to play?
16 core classes and
Oh,
a
okay, it's gone up
2.3.
now. Okay.
And that's just the bare minimum. So, I mean, we try to get ours closer to 3.0, 16 core plus, and just so they're just prepared. And we demand a lot of them. And you know what happens here the quitters quit.
Mhm.
It's not for everybody, and that's the way we like it, and that's the way we're going to keep it. The standard's always going to be the standard, and we don't dog cuss anybody or anything, but the standard is the standard because we know what standard it takes to play this sport at the highest level in America, and this is not America. So we make
Correct.
it
You have to make it.
look,
You have to
feel,
make that much
taste,
harder.
and smell like America, and so the standard's the standard, and it's not for everybody. And if it's not for you, we're not mad at you. Just move along so another person can take that opportunity and use it to their benefit.
Right. Right, Steve, man,
So-
we'd love to come on site and observe a day
Come
of
on.
training.
Come on up.
If you could make that work, that would be great. If we could put like a camera on it and do something.
Yeah, just come up in the fall when we're getting ready. We'll get a date, because right now like I said, we're going to take about 20. I think it's 24 of our next year's class, our recruitable class, to America, and we're going to go through camps through the state of North Carolina and Virginia. We can't go to all over the place; it costs a fortune. But we're going to go to North Carolina State, Duke, Wake Forest, App State, Virginia, Liberty, Virginia Tech, UNC Charlotte, Lenore Ryan. We're going to try and get to all levels. And then there's 3 HBCUs in there too that we get to go to.
Okay.
So we get to expose our guys to a lot of football.
They need that so they understand what they're up for.
Yeah, and they get to see it. They get to
100%.
they get to be on an American campus, and the great thing about that is this is an earned opportunity. When you come to the academy, everybody knows that this trip every summer, and it starts June 15th and it'll go for 10 days. This is an earned opportunity. It's not a right. It's not a privilege. Not everybody gets to do it. You got to earn your way on this trip.
Right.
We fly everybody over there. It's all expenses paid for the chosen. And we fly them over, we bus them around from school to school, put them in the hotels, feed them, and they go to work and they go compete in camps. And that's how, like you were talking about, how do we get those scholarships? So we have put about 14 guys into American colleges this year. So we intend to do that again and again and again.
Hey, this program is off the chain. It really is.
You know what? We're very proud of it. It's very fun. It's super fun. And we know what we're looking for and we know what it takes. And like I said, it's not for everybody. We get it. And there's a lot of kids because we only get to take about 25 to 28 kids a year because of our space availability and our budget only allows for that. Otherwise, I'd take 50 kids in probably to give more opportunities, but we only get to take about 25 in the world outside of America. We only get to take, and we're the only academy that does this in the planet. There's other ones that try to do a version of this, but they're not doing it this way. I've seen it. I've heard about it. I've witnessed it. I've had kids transfer from that version of that academy to our academy, and they're like, "Coach, this isn't even close." I'm like, "It's not supposed to be close. It'll never be close. It's not supposed to be close."
Right.
So we keep it elite.
With the academy, Steve, who do you decide that you guys play? Because obviously this is not everyone don't have an academy. So how do you
It's not easy in Europe, first of all, but in America, we're a Nike school, and I don't have my Nike logo on right now, but we're a Nike school, and there's 40 Nike schools in America.
Okay.
Nike high schools.
Right.
And so we get to play those 40. We get to, like this year, we're invited to go to Beaverton, Oregon, Nike headquarters, and we're going to go out there in August and play Massillon, who just won their state championship in Ohio. And we're going to play them at the Nike headquarters. And then we're going to play De La Salle out of California, back in London. And we're going to play Edgewater out of Florida, here in Loughborough. And we're going to play, who else are we going to play? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But we want to play against American talent. So American coaches can see the academy ballers playing against American, because for us to play, and we love playing the European teams too, it's gotten to a point where some of them don't want to play us because there's a lot of a lot of politics and all that, and I don't need to get into it, but
Mm-hmm.
I tell our guys we're going to play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Anybody, anywhere, anytime, and we got to get that mentality, and that's what we did. So we're blessed that we're part of that Nike group, and that we get aligned with some big time teams, and that's a buzzsaw when you step into playing Massillon and De La Salle and Edgewater, and I mean it's like, whoa, all right, boys, strap it up, we're going. So but man, they love it. They love it.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good, because they need that exposure, to understand
That's
what
how we get our
level they like to
scholarships,
play. Yeah, exactly.
because they're like, whoa, you guys play IMG? Yeah, look at what he did against IMG's guys. And they're like, okay, because American football coaches know who's at IMG, and they know who's at De La Salle, and they know who's at Massillon, and they know, and because those are perennially great football teams, and we need to go against them. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Without a doubt.
For sure.
That's what we're trying to do. We're always gonna line our guys up against the best competition that we can. So
Got it.
it's super challenging when you take a young team. Like, we're going to have a very, very young team this year, and we're going to take that young team out to America. It's going to be super fun.
Well,
It's going to be crazy. I can't
man.
tell you what's going to happen, but we're going to show up. I don't have any idea what's going to happen, but we're going to show up. Hopefully we show off.
And how big is your squad, Max?
We'll 62, right around 62. So it's very, very thin, because we play American teams that have 100 and 115 kids on their team.
Ooh.
So they can practice. They can practice. Iron sharpens iron, right? So they can practice, and if somebody gets injured, the next guy steps up. We don't have that big of a squad, so we got to really do a good job of managing. We have a full-time training and team doctor. So I try to build this like a Power 5 football team. Now, we don't have the numbers of a Power 5 football team, because that's what I know, right? I know Power 5 football, and I know NFL, and the NFL only has 53. We can't roll with 53. And the reason we can't is because in the NFL, this, if they cut somebody, they can take somebody off the street.
Yeah.
Or if somebody gets hurt, they can take a free agent and get somebody off the street, or somebody cut somebody from another team, they can pick him up. They got waiver wires, and they got all sorts of stuff. Well, we don't have that. We have a consistent R62. We get to play with these guys. And so I got to really do a good job of managing our roster. Like, we only have, say, 13 offensive linemen and 14 defensive linemen. That's all we get for the year. We have 3 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, 6 wide receivers, 9 DBs. You gotta really do the math and keep it. And that's why we got to cross train everybody. It's more like a pro football team than it is like a high school football team, where, if I'm in a public high school in Texas, shoot, I could have 150 guys on my team easily. And then because I could have a JV roster, a varsity, maybe, a freshman roster, a JV roster, and a varsity roster that grows your players all the way up through the system. We don't get that. We get guys that are 16-year-old, and they got to be on the varsity roster right away. So, but that's super cool about that too. I love that part of it.
It's a good little challenge, man. It's a good little challenge. So, and I know you're, willing to work hard to make it happen. I know you're willing to take the job.
It's fun. It's fun. I want you all to come up and see it, so you can
without
really
a doubt, definitely
see how it looks, and see what we do, see what we look like. We have our own haters, which is fine. It's kind of fun. Fuels our fire. But
you got to. That's what you need, though. You need that hate to fuel the fire. You have to.
But we know who we are. We know our goals. We know where we're going and how to get there. And now it's just about getting on the train and doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And when everybody does what we're asking them to do consistently well, then really good things happen, and it's really fun. But I can't. I'd be lying if I sat here and told you I've had to let guys go off the team. You know, some guys quit, and some guys I have to just say, hey, you can't be part of this right now because the standard's a standard. You miss too many practices. So it's not like you get here and it's Valhalla or La La Land. You know, you gotta produce consistently well at a high level. That doesn't mean you have to be the starter. Everybody has a role, but you got to do the right thing over and over and over. And if we're gonna supply you with all the tools, then your business needs to look really good. If we're gonna give you a strength and conditioning staff, a nutritionist, a sports psychologist, an academic coordinator, a position coach, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, and a head coach that knows what this game looks like, and you're going to sit in your room or not go to school or not do it the way you're stealing from your parents, and you're stealing from yourself, and you're stealing from another person that could have this opportunity to grow and go. And we won't let that happen here.
You know, just listening to what you're saying, and there is the volume of resources around these students. I mean,
I was about to say that.
I'm thinking to myself, do they actually understand
They don't.
the opportunity that's really been given to them?
The parents do. Some of the kids do. And honestly, some of the kids do when they get here. They're like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
I can do this. And that's why we've had, you know, I think we have 12 or 14. We just had 2 more guys sign on to American football teams this past week. So they have, like you just said, they have the resources to grow their game. And if you really want to take advantage of it, this is the spot. This is the spot to do it. When I first got here, I said, we were going to play IMG. And I said to our team, I asked them a question. I said, what do you think IMG thinks about us? And they think we're a bunch of dumb European football players. And I said, well, then you're going to have to prove them different. You're going to have to show up and show off.
And they
You're
did.
have to out-hit them. Yeah, and we did. And so but we got to do that every time.
Yeah.
You know,
So
we get
I'm trying to erase that image of we're dumb European football players. No, we're not.
I used to get it all the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
We're not doing that.
all the
We don't listen to that language. That's bad. That's bad language for us. We don't listen to that language.
Football players are football players in my eyes.
And Steve, I tell you what, I mean, it is what it is, but it's disappointing to hear that that's still going on, because in our era, that was like 9 to 5, man. That was what we lived. But to hear that, it's still the mentality. It's very narrow-minded still, and it's disappointing to hear that. But it's good to hear that you're turning heads. That's the main.
Well,
thing.
that's my biggest goal is to give these kids an opportunity to prove that they can do this. And, you know, because believe me, I'm not getting paid a fortune to be over here in Europe to coach this academy. So my goal is to give these kids opportunities like I had when I was their age. You know,
That's beautiful.
Just
man.
love this game and give it back. Give the game back.
So, Steve, those guys that you was doing before you get to the academy, are you still working with them? Yeah, or is that you?
Who's that? What's the question?
The IPP.
Oh yeah, IPP. Yeah. I'm going to do that until they don't let me do it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I love doing that. That's a 10-week deal in the summer, or in the winter rather, January, March, February, 10 weeks. And really what we're trying to do is obviously grow them in the game, but get them ready for the combine, the NFL combine.
Yeah.
And when they can do that, then they get selected. Our first academy player, Travis Clayton, got it selected in the draft to the Buffalo Bills this year in the 7th round, which is super exciting.
Yeah, and, I just see that on. I just see that.
And what an athlete, freak athlete. Yeah. He's I think he's like 6'7", 305 pounds.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
or something crazy. I was just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that was good. That was nice. That was nice to see. You know what I mean? A little Englishman got in the 7th round.
That's right. Yeah, and you know the NFL is doing a good job. They're trying to grow the game internationally to grow it fan support wise and marketing and all that stuff, which is a good thing. And so that's why the academy is such a good thing, and because of what we're doing here, and this is American football on this soil right here. And what I want to do, I want this to evolve into a comprehensive academy where I got a junior academy and academy. And then I want IPP to be able to connect to this
You go for
academy.
that.
So they have a longer pathway to
Yeah,
learn,
exactly.
to grow, so we can develop more internationals to play in America. And if I get a junior academy where I get kids at 14, 15, and then they come to the academy at 16, then now we're growing this sport in this country. Because right now at 14, 15 years old, you can't play 11 on 11 football. So I got to work it politically to where, I don't even care if we play anybody else other than practice against ourselves at 14 and 15. We'll get better just playing that game against ourselves, just because iron sharpens iron, and we'll scrimmage against each other. And then I'll have, my 14 and 15-year-olds practice with my young 16-year-olds in the academy, and everybody just gets better.
And they would definitely want that. If you create it properly, they will. We want to practice against them. We want to play against them. Of course, you would.
Yeah, you will. If you build it, like I know this, if you build it, they'll come. And so that's my goal, is to build this
dreams.
Out. Build it out. That's right. Build it out. So if we build it there, they'll come. And I mean, it's unfortunate. Like I said, we got kids that want to be, but they're too young. We got kids that want to be here, they're too old. And then we got kids that want to be here, but you don't fit the spot for the 27, because I can only take, I can't take 27 quarterbacks. I can only take one a year or two a year. I can only take, 4 receivers a year. I can only take 6 O-linemen a year. If you're going to, 27 is a small number. It's a really small number.
Okay.
So
Steve, so some of our fans will be thinking to ourselves, right, well, my son is 15, 16, and he's a baller, he's an athlete. If they wanted to get in touch and wanted to get onto this program, what would they have to do? Who would they need to contact? What application form do they fill out?
If they get on the NFL, if they just go on the NFLacademy.com website, there's a form on there. And then that goes directly to us, and it gets into our recruiting database. And then we'll ask them to send tape. And you don't have to be a football player. We've had rugby players, we've had basketball players, we've had track guys, but obviously we'd love to. We just want to see athletes playing ball, doing something, so we can evaluate you. And then there'll also be, I don't know if we have our combine dates on there yet, but we'll throw combines in Germany, all over Europe, and then the UK. We usually have 2 in the UK, one around London and then one up north here by Loughborough, because the UK is kind of spread out a little bit. But they can go to those. So just get on NFLacademy.com, and you'll see a lot of opportunities on there. Plus, it's a good website to look at our squad and all that.
We'll put the links in the bio as well, so
please do.
They can find that as well.
Yeah, please do. And then if honestly, if there's any coaches that are watching this that want to come up, just have them holler at me before, so they can come up and talk to our coaches, watch practice, whatever the case may be, just to help grow the sport. And that's the biggest thing, growing the sport. It's not the premier sport in this country. I totally get that. I understand. I'm not mad about it. That's the culture. But I think if you don't play, premiership soccer or premier rugby even, there's another spot to play and grow boys up, grow. I'm not opposed to having a girl on our team. She can handle it and do what we're doing, so just opportunity. It's another opportunity.
So Steve,
I think that's what they don't understand. That there is that opportunity to play another sport beside your rugby, your soccer. They don't know. They don't know is this. Playing this sport could take them down another avenue.
Absolutely. And sometimes these young guys get cut at 14, 15 from their soccer academy, and they could come out and be a wide receiver or a DB or something for us. The thing about soccer players, they're all about the same body dimension. Football, you got all sorts of different body shapes and dimensions. We got big guys and medium-sized guys and little guys. And so it's a cool sport for a lot of different body shape
without a
to
doubt.
play. So, yeah, that's so we got Raf is coming from Saracens. He's a receiver. He's a big, tall receiver, and he's played rugby, and he's trying to transition from rugby to football and be a receiver. He's like a Randy Moss looking character. So I don't know if he'll be that guy. That's a long, you're talking about a Hall of Famer, but you never know. You have no idea what's in these kids' DNA until they step out there and start doing it over and over and over every day. So we see them grow so quickly, and in not only in stature from lifting weights in our program, but also just the way they process the game. It's so fun. I've told parents, I said, you give your kid to us for a month or two, and he's going to come back. He's going to look like a transformer. It's going to be like, and it's fun. So good stuff.
Okay, Steve. So, hey, thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your
appreciate you.
Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for spending time and chopping it up with Ballaz In Da Middle. It's been real, and we will most definitely be
without a doubt.
Yeah, you got to come up. Come up.
Bro.
Watch come up and watch a two-a-day in the summer when we get rolling again, and because it'll be fun.
It would be, because to see an old school coach teaching new school, it'd be good. Yeah, without a doubt, for sure.
It's fun. I'll give you an example. So one of our linebackers, great kid. We started doing some tackling drills when I first got here, and he'd take himself out on my shoulder or my elbow or and he's a super smart kid. Loved him, and he's thick. He's built for it. And I told him, I was like, hey man, every time we do this, you tap out. There's no way you can get better at this sport if you keep tapping out. You got to get more calloused up, and when you get more calloused up, you're gonna give yourself a chance to play somewhere else. He's like, okay. He just lacked that confidence. We start going through the season, and he hits this guy, and he knocks his helmet off. But he comes out, and his shoulder, he's got a stinger, right? And I'm like, dog, you all right? He's like, I'll be all right. And I said, you know what? That same hit 3 months ago would have put you out for about 3 months. And now you telling me in 3 minutes you're going to be back. That's the baller I'm looking for. He got back in, knocking guys around. I'm like, there we go. There we go. So you start to build that. And that's what we do here at the Academy. So if it helps us win, we're going to do it. If it doesn't help us win, we're not doing it. So if you guys bring a couple ideas up and we think it's going to help us win, we'll do it. If not, we'll just send you on your way. We won't be mad at you. You just go ahead. But hey, you're always welcome, man. We love it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm looking forward to hearing some more of these podcasts with whoever you get on there.
Oh, we will. There's some more coming.
We got some people, we got some people in the pipeline, without a shadow of a doubt.
That's good.
Well, it's about that time, right?
Without a doubt, man. Lead it off.
I sure will. Good rice, good meat, good God.
Let's eat.